Imperial is definitely one of the best decks currently, and these games are going to prove it to you on how strong it actually is.
Okay, game 1 of playing Imperial. Super exciting. We're facing off against a very strong meta contender deck as well, which is Yellow Armor Vaccine. Now let's talk about opening hand. We're really just about to sort of finding our pieces. We want to be seeing rookies. We want to see tamers, new Davis and Ken, or even the old Davis that searches the memory setter are really important cards that we want to see when it comes to playing this deck. We need to see pieces. Imperial is incredibly piece reliant, which is still very similar to how it used to be, and being able to find them is your utmost priority, and that's what the mulligan hand is trying to go for. Therefore, you guys can see I'm here just trying to play stuff to search. When it comes to level 5s and 6s, they don't matter as much. Even the level 4s at times, you need to see rookies because you can find them later on. Most important, once you find them, you can start doing your DNA combos, and then you will find your top end cards later on as you attack and as you draw. There's a ton of draw power, but you must Digivolve and you must DNA in order to get access to that. Therefore, we're going for the classic combo, XV from EX1 to swing jamming and keeping the Wormmon on board. We get to draw one, and now we can go for the DNA with the brand new, not brand new, but the older Stingmon from BT12 into the good old Imperialdramon here. Now, I decided to go into this one just because I want to bottom deck the Ukomon and not like, you know, just like go for the usual checks. And I kind of want to save the new one for later because it might be important. Stunning their board isn't as helpful at the moment for me, I felt like. So the secondary older one is always good, and we get to do multiple checks and swing multiple times. That's 3 security down in one single turn, which is always fantastic. And I decided to actually also play the older Davis Ken here. Now, don't worry, we're gonna get to showcase more of newer cards just in a bit, but just a quick refresher here. This is what the classic combos always look like. And these are the reasons why I play these older cards still from BT8 is because they're actually so important. Having this Davis Ken is gonna give us extra 2 memory at the start of the next turn, and I know they can't really answer it here aside from trying to remove it with some option card or some crazy removal that they have, or they're gonna have to pay a lot of memory. So I'm here trying to get as much momentum as I can and try to get as much value later on as I continue to sit here with that Imperialdramon. I'm also not worried because I can always potentially go into a Imperial Ace if I need to, and if you guys can see that I have it as well, probably. I can actually can't remember there. But anyways, we're gonna keep on just seeing what they're gonna do. They're gonna continue to set up, cycle through the cards, go through the TK, and we have a good next turn play and we're ready to go. There's 2 options. We can actually go swing 2-2, and then we can probably go into Dragon Mode and finish the game off. But at the same time, it seems like the opponent is confident in what their security is, and there could potentially a bomb in there. So we gotta be worried about that, and it looks like they're going into Magna Ace here as well, recovering 1 with its on play, passing us to 3, and then we're gonna gain a ton of memory off of this, which is gonna be really good. But now we really gotta respect the security. Potentially there could be bombs, there could be DP reduction stuff, we can long K. We gotta be careful before we think and try to go for the swing. So the first thing I thought of to try to get momentum here is probably just try to get rid of that Magna Ace. And I think the best bet is to actually go into the Dragon Mode here. Now, going into the Dragon Mode, we get to suspend something down. We get to also swing over their Magna Ace right here, so then we can gain the Ace Overflow back, at least getting a bit of Digimon. This is one of the really nice things with the new cards with Imperial, because now we have really good control tools to actually utilize off of. The Dragon Mode, the new Fighter Mode as well, and the Imperialdramon all give the deck really good control tools. And anyways, so we're gonna continue to swing Pierce and try to draw as many cards as we can. You guys can argue that we could have just went for like triple checks and all that, but I wasn't confident in being able to finish the game off, just in case if we run into some kind of bomb. If we lose our stack, we don't have partition right here, and without partition we can't be as confident as we can. So we're gonna play a little bit slowly here and sort of see how they react. We're still really good on the momentum. That's usually how you want to play against Yellow Vaccine anyways to begin with. By being able to aggro them out and chip away their security, you're depleting their resources, and by depleting their resources, it means they have less security to work with, and that limits the amount of plays that they can do. But they still go for into the Rapid here, good old from BT8, suspending probably our XV down as well with triple tamers there, minusing 5k as well, and they can really weaken us, which is pretty good essentially. And this is the moment where, because they digivolve via an effect with Patamon, we can actually digivolve into either fighter mode from our hand. This is going to be fantastic for us because you can either have the choice of going into the older one from BT12, which I like as well, but of course we're trying to showcase the new one. The new one essentially bottom decks their entire Digimon as long as it has equal or fewer sources compared to our fighter mode. And by being able to bottom deck their Rapidmon, they basically lost their one and only Digimon that can keep them in the game, and they can't go towards their top end because of that. So this is one of the examples where I'm trying to sort of showcase that how good this control really is. I love the new Dragon mode because of the reactiveness that you can play against your opponents when they sort of play something via an effect, when they digivolve via an effect. And here they just left with a Kudamon and try to use Emissary Hope, which is still pretty cool, being able to digivolve straight from the security into this Rapidmon here from the Double Typhoon Starter deck. And then they still get to continue to play essentially. And they go for a second one too, and then going into Rapid X. So finally they were able to climb up out here, but you guys can see the position that we're in is just too good. They're not able to swing into us even with Rapid X's effect because they don't have rush or anything. So we can just go ahead, gain a ton of memory once again, utilize the brand new Davis Can to play our Vmon for free, which is an absolutely insane effect because we get to bounce it back to our hand afterwards at the end of opponent's next turn as well. But by doing so, we can search incredibly efficiently. We can digivolve into this XV for 1 cost with the promo Vmon. We can digivolve into the Stingmon for 2 costs. And the good old classic combo is as long as you have 3 memory, you can actually pull off your combos. But now with the new Davis and Ken, you don't really need to even, because you can suspend it right here to gain extra memory when you digivolve, especially when you're DNA digivolving. You get the trash sources as well at the same time. Now getting rid of all the sources underneath Rapid X, there's no Rapidmon underneath. We don't have to worry about the DP reduction effects anymore, so we can go swing with fighter mode and see how they react here. They can't really do anything, so after the attack, we're just gonna go ahead and bottom deck the Rapid X, unsuspend, swing with Imperialdramon here, and swing free game so quickly, winning just like that. Okay, game 2, we're playing against Lugamon, and Lugamon got a bit of support in BT16, so also curious to see how it's going to be like. When it comes to this matchup, I sometimes like to say it's a little bit unfavorable just because we end up chipping a lot, and chipping at security compared to them could actually potentially give them value and cards that they need to help them set up, and they can go for full combo lines. And as a matter of fact, they don't really try to build like a big board or build any sort of board for us to control enough with Imperial here. And you guys will see what I mean in a bit, because they go for a huge crazy OTK combo turn. They usually don't have a board for us essentially, because their game plan is really trying to sort of like early stages get into this Hell Lugar, as you guys can see, draw cards, trash cards, delete itself, and then once they set up enough, they're just going to come out from raising and then Unga Bunga everything all together. So our game plan is still relatively the same. You know, we still want to find the same cards that we're trying to get into. We want our rookies to search, we want to see our level 4s, and then we'll build into our level 5s as we DNA up ahead. And here again in the early stages, they're just going to try to attack if they can, you know, control a little bit as well with the board. The Tyrannomon is going to help them block attacks if they need to be, but it's not a huge problem for us when it comes to the Imperial player. So overall, having this Vmon set up on the front is going to help us, because hopefully I was going to hope to get into a Stingmon after, and then I could go ahead and DNA and sort of clear their board there, although it might not be the most effective anyways. But they do swing in with the Luga, digivolving to Lugar for trashing card in hand, hitting into our new option card, which is absolutely fantastic because it lets us play a Vmon from the trash back for free, and by doing so we can search all over again and find the exact piece that we need. So that security definitely came in clutch for us, which is incredibly helpful and really good. So now this gives us the opportunity to sort of go into the Stingmon. We managed to find it via that effect too, DNA with the end of turn, going into the old Imperialdramon once again. We can bottom deck their Tyranno and swing over their Lugarmon and go for their security here. Pierce at the same time, but you guys can see exactly what I meant in the beginning of the game. This is a little bit tricky because now we gave them a lot of resources. We gave them an AG, we gave them a purple memory boost, and this is going to matter a lot for the rest of the game. And I felt like there's not really other ways to play around this, just because, you know, we have to hit them at some point and we have to proceed to a win condition and we have to apply our aggro pressure. So sometimes it really just comes to the luck of the security when it's against this specific matchup, because they're going to go for their big combo later on, and this is going to help them set up. If we don't attack them, they're just going to spend as much time as possible to set that up anyways, sooner or later. So this puts us in a really awkward spot at the moment. Even though it looks pretty good on our end, I know they have a Imperialdramon as well, and I just felt like this isn't a situation I just really can't do too much. The Tyrannomon here can only really search SOC related card anyways, and they're gonna have to trash a card off their hand, just so you guys know. They did Digivolve into Hellugar, but they, you know, we're gonna make sure that they trash a card off Tyrannomon's effect first. So now they're gonna go into Hellugar, end of turn, gonna delete it, draw 2 cards, grab the Luga back, essentially, and then they're gonna think of what cards to trash from their hand to delete our Imperialdramon, which has absolutely no protection here, which again, it would actually be nicer if we got the one that has partition instead. And it does really showcase, sort of demonstrate why the new one is a little bit better, which we haven't been able to find until now. So if we were able to find that earlier, that would have been much better for us. I felt like we could have able to at least float the bodies back and continue to play and continue to combo off, or maybe at least set up a board that can somewhat have a response to their next turn. Because here I'm doing some memory calculation, and I know they have all their, as long as they have all the pieces in their hand, the 4s and the 5s and the 6, it's basically kind of over for us, because with that early chip, now we're only down to 4 security. Even with the 5, they could just go for that OTK big combo, which they kind of do push out here with Luga, and they gain that memory with AG. If they tuck in another AG from Lugamon's effect, which they don't even need to, because you guys are able to see this is going to be a really big combo here. So even passing them to 1 memory is not going to be helpful, and we're just really put into this awkward spot. And we could have probably maybe played differently, but I'm not entirely sure. So you guys can let me know in the comments on how you guys would sort of like fare against this matchup. But they're just going off Luga from when Digivolving, trashing a card from hand, using the Balmon, Digivolving the Soul Lugar. Soul Lugar is going to play back to Tyranno. Tyranno's going to get them 2 pieces, and they're going to gain the memory back from the Luga Inheritable to go back to 0 because they played something via an effect. Now all they have to do is swing with Soul Luga, and Soul Luga is going to trash a card, which is going to be Fenrir to gain the memory from trashing a card of the Soul Luga, and then using the Bulma once again to Digivolve into Fenrir. Fenrir is going to pass to 3, but they're going to continue to resolve their effects because they have AG, and they're going to be playing like basically 3 bodies. It felt like this game is more commentating for Lugamon more so than Imperial, but I just still wanted to showcase this matchup because sometimes Imperial does seem like it's super strong. Last game, which you guys saw, which we rushed them down very quickly against the Yellow Vaccine Armor, but it's still not unbeatable. This deck does have its weaknesses, and these are some of the situations where it just doesn't do it. It just doesn't cut it, unfortunately. And right here, we can only really bank on security. There might be something that can save us possibly, but they're just going to alliance 2 checks, end of attack. They're going to gain the memory back, and it's going to keep their turn because of Fenrir Lugamon, deleting XV, unsuspend, alliance with 2 checks, finding Davis and Ken, and they can just finish it off just like that. Alright, game 3, this is an exciting matchup that we haven't been able to see for a little while. We're actually playing against Jesmon here. Now, looking at our opening hand, I was decided like, you know what? This is okay keepable. We can find a rookie, which is our Wormmon, and then we could just sort of Digivolve in the back and sort of like go from there. That's again one of the important choices when it comes to Imperial, because sometimes if you just try to read a little bit and mulligan a little bit, you might not find the pieces that you need and you won't be able to start. Which is why I decided to keep, especially going second anyways. We end up finding pieces that we really need here because they played a Huckmon for 3, and that gives us 3 memory to work with, and we can immediately Digivolve into the Wormmon at the back, and then we can go ahead and play Davis Ken, putting them down to 1. They go for a chip right here and run into Gigadef, which, it's a really good early check for them because then it doesn't really do too much. Later would have been better, but we're gonna go for the starter main of Davis Ken, play out the Vmon to search, and we can just Digivolve in the back and go slow. Since we're playing against Jesmon, we can just take our time a little bit. They need a setup, we can just set up as well, and then we can go for an aggro play later on afterwards, which is going to benefit us. And of course, the Vmon, if they don't deal with it on the board, we can basically return it back to our hand with Davis and Ken afterwards as well, and then we can go for all those combos all over again, which is really, really good. Now, similar to Lugamon, there is some downside when it comes to this deck where if you start chipping away, which again, this is what this deck does intendedly mainly, you can start to give them a little bit of value in terms of cards. And you guys again will see what I mean later on, because now I'm going to go for this combo anyways, and I felt like this is the right time. Might as well do some damage and sort of chip them away, draw cards. We have to establish our momentum regardless, and checks are doing good. We can do DNA right here into Imperialdramon, suspend, gain a memory back for one DNA, and then we can also just make more attacks and continue to draw as much as we can as well. Now this is what I'm going to say, and this is what I meant. We run into from Master Disciple, which is a really good card for them. Honestly, any other Digimon would be totally fine, because then that means, they don't get any value. But here, this helps them set up. This actually helps them get into the combo later on. Now I'm kind of like, okay, now we're kind of in a sticky situation. I was like, okay, you know what? I kind of want to play that Vmon first, but you know what? I'm like, once they pop off of the combo anyways, their board is going to be incredibly wide, and I just feel like we couldn't afford to slow down on the momentum. We just need to apply the aggression and try to attack as much as possible, put them low, and then try to finish them off later. But this position we're in is once again very similar to the last game in a little bit. It's a little bit awkward because they're going to get super explosive in this one single turn with a double Master from Disciple to go into Jesmon X antibody. And that's going to let them play out like Sistermon and stuff like that. And they're going to gain a lot of like advantages, extra DP, attack unsuspended, it has piercing and so on. They even have the Savior Huck that lets them unsuspend as well. And they go for this BT10 Sistermon, lets them Digivolve into GX. GX is gonna activate its when Digivolving effect. And you guys might be wondering, what's new for Jesmon anyways in BT16? Well, in case you didn't know, you can play Magna X in this because it is a Royal Knight. You can tuck it under, and Jesmon GX gains all the when Digivolving effects of Magnamon X antibody. Now in this particular position, they could have actually swung with Jesmon X first, but the reason they actually didn't is actually trying to respectfully play against and play around our fighter mode ace, because if they didn't respect it, we could potentially actually just bottom deck their stack, which they don't have protection during then, but now they do, which is why they kind of went for this a little bit of a slightly awkward play. It may look suboptimal at first, but actually it's a very good play, because now they can just swing over the Imperialdramon, pierce with a ton of checks, gain a bunch of memory back, and we're actually getting a lot of value in return. Checking into our brand new option once again, we can play the Wormmon back to search, and we find ourselves a Davis here to continue the search, and this gives us instant a lot of value. Actually, we kind of got lucky here in the security back at them, just because this gives us the opportunity for the comeback potential now, because we've got two bodies to work with, two rookies. All we need to do is get into a level 4s, and then we can start DNA into it, and then we can just sort of control the board all over again. So I'm going to use Davis and Ken starter main, play out this promo Vmon, because it can reduce our Digivolution cost to get an XV by 1, which is always fantastic. A lot of memory manipulation right here, and we can really go into the Stingmon, DNA with the two BT12 ones, which is a really fantastic combo, gaining that 2 memory when we DNA to go into Imperialdramon. Now, of course, we're going to go into this new one, because we went into the old one earlier on. We keep finding the older one, and I trust me guys, this is supposed to be showcasing the new one, and here we're going to demonstrate it right here. We're going to go into this new one, finally finding it. We get to spend, gain that memory back, but we aren't able to trash their sources because they are immune with Magna X after all. This is a Jesmon GX sitting on the board with at least 20k DP because of X antibody and Magna X giving it extra 5k buff until the end of this turn. But what isn't protected is that Sistermon's shell. And here I'm just thinking, okay, we can't strip the source, we can't stun the Jesmon, we can't suspend it right now, but Imperialdramon's stunning effect lasts till the end of the opponent's turn, meaning that once the protection wears off, they will be stunned, similarly to like the Belphemon and Bluefair interaction back in BT13, if some of you guys remember. That's pretty much my understanding on it. So let me know in the comments if I'm correct or wrong, but that's kind of how we played it, and that's how we understood it anyways. So we're going to attempt to swing over that Xiao. We have to get rid of that body because they can do 2 attacks next turn and we're going to be over. We're going to actually bait them and try to make them suspend, because if they suspend here, they cannot unsuspend, and we have a leeway. I'm not afraid to lose this Imperialdramon because I really need it to suspend. I need that Jesmon GX to suspend, and as soon as they block it, which they don't, and we're seeing how they react, they have to finally block this final attack with the Vmon. That's the whole intention why I left that one there and not Digivolve into that one, just to make that extra attack as well. So now we can perfectly pass them back to 1, put them as little memory and little as resources as possible. So now we're sitting here and we're ready to go for the next attack all over again. And this is kind of a tight game, very close. One explosive turn, everything's almost gone for us, and we almost could have lost this, but now we're making this comeback and we're holding in tight. And I love new support once again. I know most of you guys do as well, because there's just so many tools, so many fantastic effects overall. Now, Patrician is not going to really help us much here with Partisan, and we're not going to be able to play stuff back out just because Jessamon GX is mainly removal based off on attacking and piercing and stuff like that. So by battle, we're not going to be able to like spit things back out. So this puts them in a very tricky situation at the moment, because the only other one big answer for them at this particular position they're in is finding a way to put another Magna X. And right here, wow, this is super nervous. But thankfully, it was a Ganku X instead. Now with Ganku X, they're not going to have that immunity. They do have the immunity from bottom decking and DP reduction, and they're going to be able to play like Sistermon out. I think they're still trying to decide on what Sistermon they want to play at the moment, just because they want to go for the Xiao, which is a little more, makes more sense, so they can gain memory back and they can play this other Blanc, and they have 2 blockers to set up for defense effectively there. But if they had that Magna X and tuck it under again, they would have gained all that immunity all over again, and they could probably just finish us off. And that's really just that missing piece, I guess, potentially. But anyways, we're going to go for it. We're going to gain a ton of memory with Davis Kens and all that. We're going to do all that shenanigans. Now, we can't bottom deck their Digimon, from what I believe from Ganku X's protection effect. They still also have a 2k buff on the board. So going to old Imperialdramon is not going to help too much, but we have to get rid of that Sistermon. Well, we don't have to get rid of it because the brand new Imperialdramon is just so good. And now we can showcase it, finally utilizing it to strip sources as well by taking out essentially all the inheritables, all the good ones in the stack, and then suspending all their other Digimon there, and then we can swing for game.
Check out this video right here to see my journey in becoming the greatest Digimon player of all time. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, whatever you are. See you in the next video. It is AVAULT signing out.